Once upon a time, there lived a kingdom named Kappa. Kappa was a blessed land. There were many resources, and the people were doing well. Their king, Afam, had established many factories for them. They were advanced more than their neighbors. The people had resources like gold, diamonds, oil, gas. They had cocoa, palm oil, and many other vegetations that they exported out of their kingdom. Now, people believe that the kingdom did well because they practiced the clan system. There were 4 strong clans in the kingdom, and each clan had a turn to be king. Now, the king was Afam. He was from the Okonkwo clan. His father had also been king. Afam had 2 wives, Chika and Azuka. Afam had first married Chika and made her queen. Unfortunately, Chika had no children. They had been married for 5 years. And at the pressure of his cabinet members, he took another wife, Azuka. Azuka gave him a son. His name was Okoro. Now, Okoro was loved in the kingdom. He was a young prince, very intelligent, strong, and was very charming. His people loved him. He worked with the cabinet members who were in charge of the economy of the land. He was the one who had ideas for exportation. He was the one who had ideas for building the factories in their kingdom. He brought wealth to his people, and they loved him so much. Okoro had a brother. Azuka had given birth to another child. His name was Jide. But the people did not see Jide all the time. This is because Jide was born an imbecile. He had developmental issues from an early age. He couldn't speak, he couldn't write, he couldn't walk. He had to be fed. So Afam's whole hope was put on Okoro, his son. Okoro, his son, would be the prince and take over the kingdom. If not that Azuka had given birth to Okoro, the kingdom would have fallen away from their own clan and gone to the Ofo clan. And before anyone could be king again in the Okonkwo clan, to take years. And Afam did not want this. He enjoyed the power that came with being king. Now one day, 2 fishermen were at the Oji River. They had been there for hours and they couldn't catch anything. As other fishermen, they had given up hope and were packing up their things to leave. It was already getting late. It was night. They had not gotten anything to sell in the market tomorrow. It was very disappointing. So both of them pulled in their net so they could pack it and head home. As they tried to pull the net, then they could feel that they had caught something. It was very heavy. They were very, very happy. They kept pulling and pulling and pulling, but it was really heavy. One of them said, it's like we've caught a big fish. This one will bring us so much money in the market. My friend, pull before we lose it. So they kept pulling and pulling, and with all their minds, they put the entire net in the boat. They were so happy. They opened the net, but they couldn't see any fish. They continued to open the net, and there, before their eyes, they saw the body of a woman. She had died. One of them shouted, "What is this? Hey, what type of bad luck is this? What happened to her?" One of them went forward and turned the woman, and there they saw that both her eyes had been taken out. The other man screamed, "We have to take this to the royal guards. What type of unfortunate thing happened to this woman?" So they went back on land and carried the woman in their nets to the royal guards. When they got to the office of the royal guards, they showed them the body of the woman and told them what had happened. "Who is she?" the royal guards asked, but no one knew. There was nothing on her body. Her body was naked. There was no way in identifying her. What could they do? Now, the royal guards had a chief priest. The chief priest examined the body of the girl and told them that she had been killed. Someone had struck her head, and most likely that person was the one who took away her eyes. But why would they take away her eyes? One of the royal guards asked. The chief priest said it can only be used for evil. Now, it was the chief priest that told the royal guards to tell the king what had happened. If they had someone who was going around killing girls and taking their eyes, then something had to be done. They had never seen this before. So the royal guards went to the palace. There, the king was with his cabinet members, and Prince Okoro was also with them. They had been discussing about exportation of the gold when the royal guards came. What is it? The king asked, and they told him what they had found. They said that some fishermen had seen a dead girl and brought her. The strange thing was that her eyes had been taken out. The cabinet members were shocked. How could this be? As they were talking, a man named Mazi Chinedu came. He rushed in. Your Highness, help me. Help me, help my family. What is it? The king shouted. What happened? Tell me. Your Highness, this morning while my children were playing at the backyard, they came upon the dead body of a girl. Cabinet member shouted. What did you say? As they were playing, they came upon the dead body of this girl. And the strangest thing is that her eyes have been taken out, Chinedu shouted. The cabinet members were shocked. The king sent his royal guards to go to Chinedu's house and bring the body, let us see. And so they went. Chinedu's house happened to be close to the Oji River. Once they got there, they saw the body as Chinedu had described. They carried the girl and brought her to the chief priest. Then the chief priest lined up both bodies before the king and the cabinet members. Could it be that there is an evil spirit in the river that is doing this to our girls? Have we offended the gods? One of the cabinet members said. As they were talking, the king asked the royal guards to send for their high priest. The high priest was more powerful and knowledgeable than the chief priest. So the royal guards went to get the high priest. Meanwhile, the prince was saying that they had to find the person who was doing this. A team had to be set up immediately to investigate what was causing this. Maybe some royal guards have to follow the girls to the stream, to the river, and watch and see what happens. Now, while the first girl, no one was able to identify her, the second girl that was found at Chinedu's backyard, one of the cabinet members said, I know this girl. This girl is very familiar. Then it came to him. He shouted, is this not Obina's maid? Which Obina? Which Obina? Obina, that man that lives close to the Ikoku street. He has 3 children and his wife. I remember seeing the girl. They had brought her from his wife's village to help the wife. Immediately the king said, send for Obina. Tell him to come here immediately. By the time Obina came, the high priest was already there. They were all in the palace. At first, Obina had not seen the girls. Your Highness, you sent for me. What is the problem? He said. And the king asked him, where is your maid? We have not seen her for days, Your Highness. One day when we woke up, we thought she had gone to the stream. We thought she had gone to fetch some water because we did not see the bucket. But since that day, she never came back. Is she the one? The king pointed. And Obina shouted, yes, her name is Chidima. What happened to her? Why is she here? Who did this to her? Obina said. He and his wife had been worried. They were planning to go to her village to see if Chidima ran back to the village. She was a nice girl and she helped them. But they were surprised that one day she never came back home. Now the king turned to the high priest, the Ezemo. What is going on? Who could have done this to these girls? Is there an evil spirit in the river that is causing this to our people? Why would the gods allow this? The king asked. The Ezemo looked at the bodies and said, "Yes, it is evil that did this, but not an evil spirit, an evil man." "What do you mean? Are you saying that one of us did this?" "Yes," the Ezemo said. "Someone who eats and drinks with us has done this to these girls." Everybody was shocked. Who could it be? Now the king shouted. He told the prince, "I am putting you in charge of this investigation. Find out who amongst us will have done this. This person has to be beheaded immediately. This has never happened under my reign." Once the other clans hear about this, they will blame him, the king, saying that under his reign, this type of evil happened. He couldn't allow this to continue. It had to be stopped. Prince Okoro promised his father that before the end of the week, they will find the perpetrator. Now the high priest, the Ezemo, asked that the bodies be taken to his own temple. There he will examine their bodies for further clues. One of the steps that the royal guards and the prince had taken to investigate this matter was to put some undercover royal guards around the Oji River. Some were placed around the market area, others were placed in the bushes. Their job was to monitor any suspicious movements. Meanwhile, the Ezemo in his temple was going over the bodies of both girls. Because the first girl, her body had been in water, the Ezemo did not start with her own body. He moved to Chidima's body. Hers was found on land. There was some grass attached to her. He could see that Chidima had fought whoever did this to her. There were scars on her body. She was also naked. He went over her body one at a time, taking out grass or sand that was attached to her. And then he came upon black hair. His assistant asked him, "What type of hair is this? It's not curly. It's straight. Very straight." The Ezemo said, "I do not think this is human hair. Put this hair in the calabash and put the divine water over it. The water will reveal to us what type of hair this is." And so his assistant did that. They took all the black hairs they could find on Chidima, put all of it inside the calabash, and poured the divine water into the calabash. And then they put the calabash before the mirror. After a few incantations, a cat appeared in the mirror. A black cat. The cat could not see the Ezemo. It was just moving by itself, walking around. But the Ezemo and his assistant could see the cat. Then the assistant said, "This place the cat is, it looks like a royal place. It looks very familiar." The Ezemo said, "Someone owns this cat. We need to know who owns this cat. That person is linked to all of this," the Ezemo said. Meanwhile, the prince and the royal guards kept on with their investigation. A week had passed, and now 2 weeks had passed, yet nothing. The king was getting very, very frustrated. News had spread around that the dead bodies of 2 girls had been seen. That is what everybody was talking about. Obviously, the other clans had used it against the king. You see, this is why he's not qualified to be king. If his son takes over, this will continue. The title needs to come to the clan of the Ofo people. In the past, we ruled the kingdom without this type of incident. These are the talks that were going around in the palace and outside the palace. But people could not discredit the work that the king and his son had done. They had brought prosperity. The only thing was to find out who was behind all these killings. Now one day, the Ezemo's assistant went to the royal kitchen. He had been invited to come collect some plates of food that the queen had ordered for him and the Ezemo. She had set aside some food stock for them as well. So the assistant came to the royal kitchen. Ah, how are you? How is it going with the investigation? Some of the girls in the kitchen asked him. He said for now, the Ezemo hadn't found anything conclusive yet. Once he does, he will let the king know. They gave the assistant a seat to sit while they put together the foodstuffs that Queen Chika had ordered for him. Queen Chika was a very nice woman. People liked her in the kingdom. The problem was she did not produce any child for the king. Everyone saw her as a barren woman, but she was kind and people loved her for that. Now, as the assistant was sitting in the kitchen waiting, one of the maids came into the kitchen and a black cat followed her. Another maid said, "Take this cat away. Why is he here again? What does he want to eat?" Immediately, the cat ran towards the fish to eat them. The moment the assistant saw the cat, he asked, "Who owns this cat? Is it for the royal palace?" One of the maids said, "Don't you know this cat? It's Queen Azuka that owns the cat. She came with it from her hometown when they married her." Oh yeah, leave this place before you scatter this kitchen," one of the maids said to the cat and chased it away. The assistant looked at it and kept quiet. He packed up everything that Queen Chika had kept for him and the Ezemo and left. When he got back to the temple, he told the Ezemo what he had seen and heard. The next day, the Ezemo went to the king. He told the king that now it had been a month and no progress had been made. He asked the king to pull the royal guards away from the Oji River. It is possible that the person who is doing this is now aware and will not come to the river anymore. So the king told the prince that the royal guards who were stationed around the river should come back. But the prince said, "If we bring them back, won't the killings continue?" But the king said, "No, let us bring them back." The presence of the royal guards there continued to show that he was not capable of doing anything. He didn't want the other clan members to think he did not have control of the situation. It had been a month now and still he had no idea of what was going on. It is possible, he said, that the person who was doing this may have left. It is possible that the person was not even from their own kingdom. Remember that they had enemies around, people who were envious of their own kingdom. "Bring the royal guards back," the king said. And following his father's instruction, the prince told the royal guards to leave the river and come back. Now, a week passed and nothing happened. A few more weeks passed and nothing happened. A month, 2 months, nothing had happened. And the king was beginning to feel relaxed. Maybe he was right. Maybe the person who was doing this was not from their land. The presence of the royal guards may have scared the person away. Now, the coronation of the prince was fast approaching. The cabinet members had talked to the king at length and had said that the prince had to take over. Immediately the prince took over, the king wanted him to marry a wife so that he can have more children. And this the king was happy to do. He and Queen Azuka planned this coronation ceremony. Everybody in the kingdom was happy. They did like Prince Okoro. He was very charming and very kind, unlike his mother, Queen Azuka. And so the kingdom gradually forgot about the two girls who had died, and everybody was now focused on the coronation of Prince Okoro. Now the day of the coronation came, and everybody was moving around, preparing, cooking, setting up. There was movement everywhere. Some girls ran to the stream to fetch water. They were going to need water to wash and cook a lot of things. Immediately they got to the river. At the riverbank, they saw the body of a dead girl. One of their friends, Irima, they recognized her. Her eyes had also been taken out. They screamed and ran back to the palace. "Not today," the king shouted. "It cannot be today. Today is the prince's coronation. How can this happen on this day?" Immediately, the royal guards were sent to bring in the dead body, and the Ezemo came. The king did not send for him. How do you know? Have word reached you already? The king asked him. The Ezemo said he came because he knew who was doing all this. Everybody was shocked. Who? Who can it be? And before everybody, the Ezemo pointed at Prince Okoro. He is the killer, he shouted. Are you mad? The king said. My son? How dare you? Who sent you? What clan are you working for? On his coronation day, the prince stood still. He couldn't believe what the Ezemo was saying. The cabinet members too were shocked. It cannot be true. The prince cannot do anything evil. This Ezemo has been corrupted, they thought. The Ezemo said, I will show you. And before all of them, the Ezemo opened the mirror of divine power. And there they saw the prince. The mirror revealed to them that the night before, the prince had gone to the river. He was standing next to a tree, as if he was waiting for somebody. And then they could see Erima. She ran up to the prince and she said, I'm sorry for making you wait. There's a lot of work to do ahead of your coronation. And the prince laughed. He said to her, don't worry. Once I'm coronated, I will make you my queen. Erima liked that. She was very happy. She was about to kiss the prince, and then his face changed to one of evil. Immediately, he stabbed her in the heart. He attacked her and left her naked. And then he began to sing an incantation as he took out both her eyes. And before everyone, they could see an evil spirit, an evil mermaid, come out of the river and take the eyes from the prince. The prince bowed to the evil spirit, put the eyes in her mouth, and then went back to the river. Queen Azuka shouted, No! No, what is this? Everybody was shocked. How can this be? Is this real? Then the Ezemo turned and said, yes, it is real. He told them that he had suspected that the prince was the killer some time back. When he went through Chidima's body, he saw the hairs of Queen Azuka's cat on the body, he told them. Everybody was shocked. Chidima did not know the cat. Someone who knew the cat came to Chidima the day she was killed and unknowingly left the hairs of the cat on Chidima's body. So he came up with an idea and told the king to get the royal guards out of the river. Where they were stationed to catch the killer, he had told the king to take them out. He wanted to see if his suspicions were true. And lo and behold, they were. The Ezemo had stationed his owl, a bird with divine eyes that could see. The bird had stayed there for months. Because it was a bird that came at night, no one suspected anything. No one knew it was there. But that night, while the prince was standing next to that tree, the owl was on one of the branches of that tree, looking down at him. And everything he did, the owl saw it. And as he sees, everything the owl sees is reflected on the mirror. Immediately, the Ezemo saw it the next morning. He couldn't save the girl that night because he was sleeping. But this morning, when he woke up, he didn't think to see anything. But the mirror revealed to him immediately what the owl had seen. The Ezemo turned to Queen Azuka. You confess. This boy is a child of the evil spirit. How is it so? And then Queen Azuka began to shake. Take this and swear that this child belongs to the king. Now the paternity of Prince Okoro was on the table, and the king was now afraid. "What is going on here? What is this?" And the Ezemo said, "No one of royal blood can do this. It is only one with evil blood that can do this type of thing." And now the cabinet members began to believe the Ezemo. If this is true, then the prince cannot ascend the throne. Now the prince was getting angry. His eyes were now turning red. He was looking like a beast. "Confess, woman, otherwise I will strike you down." And then Queen Azuka confessed. She had been married to the king for 2 years. She had seen that Queen Chika for 5 years was not able to conceive before she was married. In fear, she went back to her own village to tell her mother that they had to do something, otherwise the king and his people may throw her out of the kingdom. After all, she was married as the second wife to bring children into the family. So her mother had taken her to an evil Ezemo, an evil priest, and the priest had revealed to them that the king was impotent. So she had to find a way to take in the child. But the evil Ezemo assured them that if they worshipped the evil mermaid, Mami Water, she will give them 2 children. One will be strong, smart, intelligent, and light, but the other will be an imbecile, an idiot, a fool. Nothing good can come out of him. Do you want this? And Azuka said yes. And so she gave birth to Prince Okoro and her second son, Jide. Everybody in the palace shouted. What? The king now collapsed on his throne. What this means is that he has no children. Now, Prince Okoro raised his sword to strike anyone who came close to him. But the Ezemo had already raised his ofo, and striking it towards Prince Okoro, he collapsed and died. Now, people were beginning to understand the gravity of what had happened. Not only was Prince Okoro the killer, but he was actually not a prince. He had no royal blood. So what were they going to do? King Afam was so sad. Why has this happened to me? I do not have children of my own. And the Ezemo turned to him and said, you do not have children of your own because of your sins. The Ezemo revealed that when he was a child, his father had told him that when King Afam was a young boy, he had committed a very grievous sin, and someone had tied his manhood in the evil forest. And because of that, he had no children. It is possible for him to untie his manhood and have children, but he has to first of all apologize to the person he had offended. But King Afam could not remember who he had offended. Now, one cabinet member asked, the question now becomes, can King Afam maintain his power or lose it to another clan?